You know, every new phone feels amazing for like the first 5 days. The real question is what happens after that? Because in the beginning, you're just fantasizing your new phone. But then eventually, you start trying the new things. Then eventually, you end up doing the same things that you did, with your old phone. And then you start noticing things. Reality hits you. It's a phone at the end of the day. And then you make a video about it. The amount of time I spend on an intro. So I tell you exactly what you need to know and also answer the more important questions. Should you get this or maybe stick with the S25 Ultra? Or maybe get the iPhone 17 Pro? And also other new features like being able to edit photos with just a text prompt, or the new video features, or the brand new privacy display, big enough reasons to get it. The thing about spending 1,40,000 rupees on a phone is that you would want to believe that you've got the best phone in your hand and that it looks great. To some extent it does. So let's talk about the design. The phone, kept anywhere, looks good, whether you keep it face up or with that always-on display and the flat screen with hardly any bezels. Looks incredible. Also, practically it feels a lot like the S25 Ultra. The only difference is that the S26 Ultra has, a bit more curvy corners. Otherwise, the S25 Ultra was great and so is this. And even durability-wise, I think it's top-notch. But as I started using this more and more, a few things stood out. The phone's definitely big and wide, so naturally, using it with one hand, it does get a little difficult. The table wobble with this phone is a real thing, but if you do put a case on, I think it's manageable. Oh, and the screen, it gets oily and fingerprinty pretty often, so I did find myself cleaning it also pretty often. And I think that's about it. Nothing major, just a few things that you do get used to as you use the phone. But there are two gentle issues that very specific type of people would have to face. First, if you've been an S Pen user, the S Pen has been made a lot thinner, so it feels, a bit different now. And there's a 50% chance that you'd always put it back like this, where it sits out, and so you have to repeat the process to make sure that, it sits in the right way. And second is for people who are very fond of using wireless chargers. The phone does not directly support wireless charging, but if you do put on a compatible case, then it just works. But really guys, very happy with the overall design. Even the scratch resistance on both the back and the front is amazing. I mean, look at the screen, not a single mark. The phone feels solid in your hand and it really feels super classy. There's just no denying that. Now, let's talk about the display. But do we really need to? I mean, it's a Samsung flagship display, one of the best displays out there. It looks great, colors are absolutely bang on, and obviously it's bright, so it's super nice to even use outdoors in bright sunlight. But this time, this screen is all about privacy display. The fact that someone from the side peeping into your phone can't see anything on your screen, I think, is super cool. You can do it for the entire screen, you can do it just for the notifications, or you can do it for specific apps only, like let's say your gallery. And for those of you who think that this could have been done with a privacy screen protector, come on guys. I mean, that thing is permanent, it works on the entire screen, and it does require you to keep your brightness punched up a little, so it kind of sucks into your battery, so no, it's not the same. But, there are some concerns around privacy display. Let me clarify them one by one. The first concern is, when the privacy display is on, it dims down the display. Yes, it does, but very little. See, here's the difference. On the left, the privacy display is off, versus on the right, the privacy display is on. And I made sure that the brightness levels were kept the same. So, do you really think that the visible difference is a lot? I don't think so. Second, only when you set the privacy to max, that's when the display looks a little weird. And so now here's the difference between no privacy, regular privacy, and max privacy. And honestly, like for the most part, I think the regular privacy is enough. Third, initially I thought it was too much to, bring down the notification shade, tap on privacy, enable it, but you can just double tap the power button and turn on privacy mode, which makes it so much more usable. And to do this, you can actually go into the side key settings and just set it to privacy display. And lastly, people think that because of this privacy display, the S26 Ultra's display is not as anti-reflective as the S25 Ultra's display. Technically, yes, but again, marginally. Because guys, I have to say, the S26 Ultra is still very good in terms of cutting reflection than all other phones, except of course the S25 Ultra. Honestly, I really think it's a great move. I'm pretty sure it's going to trickle down to all other smartphones very soon. So kudos to Samsung for doing this first. Now, that's it, guys. This is really what's new with the S26 Ultra and should primarily be the reasons why you should get it. But in addition to this, there are new AI features, there's slightly updated camera hardware, there are some new video features, and all of this might make you a little bit more inclined to getting the S26 Ultra. So here's what I did. I took the S26 Ultra and compared the photo output with that of the S25 Ultra and even the iPhone 17 Pro. So, just so you get an idea of how good this is. So let's talk about the cameras. And guys, before I get to samples, just understand that this is a very similar setup as that of the S25 Ultra, but with slightly brighter cameras. And this should mean slightly better low-light photos and videos, so let's look at the samples. So guys, right off the bat, I still think iPhone produces the most natural skies and greens, no doubt about that. It's more pleasing and definitely closer to reality. But this time, in dynamic range, I think the S26 Ultra has really nailed it. Just notice the shadows here, okay? Or look at this. This is like crazy, okay? Even when compared to the S25 Ultra, we can see just how well the S26 Ultra took a shot. And I talked about the brighter camera, right? That's very evident here. But in low light, I still think there's some tuning required. Because when I took shots, they're bright, but there was one problem. Look at this shot. The iPhone definitely very natural, even the S25 Ultra pretty good. But the S26 Ultra does seem to suffer from a bit of halation around the lights. And then I took more shots, just saw the same problem again from the surrounding lights. And I do feel that an update should be able to fix that problem because the portraits that the S26 Ultra took, nailed it. Be it colors or the focus fall off, it was amazing on the S26 Ultra and even the S25 Ultra. I think the iPhone 17 Pro really needs to work on their portraits. They're just horrible. It's not even able to focus on the subject properly most times. And I also want to say that the colors are slightly off, but they are more accurate on the S26 Ultra compared to last year as well. iPhone just way off again. And even when it came to clicking my portraits, I think the S26 Ultra did a very good job. It handled my skin tone, the highlights, both very well. Selfies too, consistently brighter. I really like the way it handled light on my face. Slightly better skin tones than even the S25 Ultra. It handles colors and highlights on face indoors also very well. And even in very tricky lighting, I think it tries to balance the face and make sure that it's well exposed for a selfie. Now let's talk about zoom. And the iPhone 17 Pro, it can zoom up to 8x cropping into its 4x telephoto lens. And the S26 Ultra can zoom up to 10x cropping into its 5x telephoto lens, okay? But let's see which one does zoom better. And if I'm being honest, I do think that the 8x on the iPhone is slightly better than the 10x that the S26 Ultra has. Don't get me wrong, I think the S26 Ultra is also very good. I just prefer the more consistent color profile that you get on the iPhone. Also, for those of you who are relatively new to Samsung, the phone is capable of natively shooting multiple resolutions in multiple frame rates, okay? Also, in Pro Video mode, you can choose to decide how you wish to record audio, and you can opt to get a clean preview while shooting videos in Pro mode. Also, guys, like the iPhone has ProRes video recording, Samsung has also introduced APV video recording codec, which is actually a lot like the ProRes, but a bit more efficient. So basically, you can record log video footage and you can now color grade it with more dynamic range, giving you really cinematic output. And the phone has some built-in LUTs also that you can apply as a preset on your short video and get really crazy video output without any editing app. Guys, overall, I really think it depends on what kind of photos you take more of. So if you do more selfies or portraits, then probably the S26 Ultra. But if you do a lot of videos or low light stuff, then probably the iPhone, okay? Wow, that's a lot about the cameras. But 90% of the times, you're going to be using your phone for everyday things, right? So let's talk about performance and software. Yeah. Look, performance-wise, this is as good as it gets, okay? It's top of the line, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. Things run stupidly fast. It's an ultra flagship, so performance is kind of given. But over time, as I've used this phone more, I've really enjoyed things that are very specific to Samsung and to One UI. Let me show you. First, I really like call captioning. So if I'm in a meeting or if I'm busy, I can just see and read what the other person is saying on the call. Very useful. Second, I think it's really amazing that I can make edits to my photos with just my thoughts. No extra app needed, no extra AI required. It's all on the phone and it works amazingly well. Third, I know we don't use Bixby a lot on the Samsung phone, but its integration with Samsung settings is next level. I mean, I could just say, hey Bixby, turn off notifications from WhatsApp and Instagram, and it takes all the steps for you. In fact, any setting that you can possibly think of, you don't have to go hunting in the phone. Just tell Bixby, it's going to understand, and it'll do it for you. Fourth, and I think this is so useful that you can now click scan and save a document, cleaning the wrinkles, the shadows, and even remove your fingers while holding it. Next, Samsung has also made it easier for you to hide private or sensitive photos or videos in a private album. Earlier, you could do it through Secure Folder, but it had like a whole bunch of steps that you had to take. This is a lot easier and faster. Now, in addition to all of this, there is some other stuff in One UI that's available on other Samsung phones too, but I still enjoyed it on this phone. For example, there's Finder here, which is just like Spotlight search on iPhone, so you could search for a contact or a file or even a photo. But it's even better because you can search for a YouTube video or a Netflix show and directly jump into it. Next, even Gemini's integration with native Samsung apps is a whole other thing, and no other manufacturer does that. So I can just long press the power button and tell Gemini to remind me to order coffee on Friday at 3:30 p.m. and it sets a reminder in the native Samsung Reminder app. Or just as another example, I can use Gemini to add a calendar entry again into the Samsung Calendar app, and all of that works so beautifully together. Now, having said all of that, there are a couple of things that Samsung did highlight in its keynote presentation and even on its own website, things that don't particularly work too well right now. Like, they showcased Now Nudge and Now Brief, and I don't think that it really works in a way that we would ideally want it to work for us right now. I think it does still require a lot of input from our end, and I guess Samsung still has to work a bit more thoroughly on it. I also think Samsung should add more stock wallpapers in its library and themes so user can customize their phones. Like OnePlus, Oppo, and even Vivo phones, they've got a ton of these in their UI natively, and they're all like a single click apply. Of course, on Samsung phones, you can go to the theme section and browse through this giant catalog, but I think Samsung should add some handpicked ones and have it stored natively on the phone that you can just go and change like on the fly. But hey, if you go to Galaxy Store and then install GoodLock, you can go crazy with customization on Samsung phones, and I don't think there's any other phone that comes close to it. Regardless, guys, I think Samsung's One UI is still the most feature-rich UI that exists for any Android phone. In fact, I've done a full video talking about all the features that most Samsung users still are unaware about, but they're useful like I can't explain. So definitely catch that. There's still one thing that we haven't talked about. How's the battery on the S26 Ultra? So, when it comes to battery, there's one good news and one bad news, okay? Bad news first, it's still 5000 mAh. I mean, it's been the same battery for eons now, and somewhere I'm really hoping that Samsung soon brings its battery break pretty soon because it's time now. The good news is that it's still a solid one-day battery. So I took a screenshot of my battery stats of a pretty balanced day where, I was between watching content and wasting time on Instagram and WhatsApp and also quite a bit of gaming. And I got 6.5 hours of screen on time with about 15% battery remaining, which if I had used, I think I would get about 8 to 8.5 hours of screen on time, which is not bad for an Ultra phone. And so if you're like me, who puts their phone on charge just before going to bed, you get a one-day battery, you put your phone on charge, so I think you're sorted. So in everyday use, I don't think you'll fall short on battery, but if you do have a very heavy use case, like a lot of camera use on some day, you're gonna need to charge it sooner. And speaking of charging, if you've got a fast charger, it charges to full in under 1 hour. I tested it. But only if Samsung gave a bigger battery capacity, this would be so epic, okay? So, what do I finally suggest for the S26 Ultra? So guys, just as a phone, I think it's an incredibly useful, productive, and well-balanced phone. It's easily the best all-rounder phone in the market right now. So if you've got the budget, just get it. Now between this and the S25 Ultra, look, if you're not going to be using the privacy display on the S26 Ultra, you can actually just go for the S25 Ultra. And if you get a really good deal, like if it's really a lot cheaper than the S26 Ultra, go for it. Now, between this and let's say the iPhone 17 Pro or the Pro Max, Look, guys, if you're switching from Android to iOS, it's a big pain. So I wouldn't do it. But if you've already made up your mind about, I want to be an iPhone user, go for it. But hey, if you're thinking of any other phone apart from the ones that I mentioned and you're confused, please ask me in the comment section. I'd love to pitch in and think about which phone you can go for. So let's talk there, okay? Now, if you guys did enjoy watching this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Guys, hit that bell notification icon, mark all, really helps the channel grow. See you guys in the next one.